words appear. Zoe's tips, tricks, and how-tos. On Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway? The Blind Perspective Network. And Victor Gouveia announcing. Sponsored by VIP Tech. Welcome to Zoe's Tips, Tricks, and How-Tos, the show where you get to learn how Zoe makes her life more accessible. On Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway? Brought to you by VIP Tech. I am your announcer, Victor Gouveia. Remember, if you like what you're about to hear, activate the like button and share it with your friends and family, especially if you think they can benefit from anything that's said here. And subscribe, activating the notification bell so you're notified when we go live or upload a new video. Additionally, we are live streaming on our Facebook page, Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway, and on Twitter at Blind Whose. That's BLINDWHOSE. Alternatively, if you don't like any of those formats, you might benefit from podcasts. If you have an iDevice, an Android device, an Amazon device, or a Windows device, we are available on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on Amazon Podcasts. So if you ask Alexa to play Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway, she'll go out and find it for you. Also, if you want a copy of the audio or video of this recording, send us an email, whoseblindlifeisitanyway@gmail.com, and we will send you a link to the folder on Dropbox that houses all of the episodes we broadcast on the network. On this week's tips, tricks, and how-tos, Zoe teaches us how to peel and chop onions without possibly crying your eyes out. So now here is your host, Zoe Fiogkos.
Hi guys, welcome to another tips, tricks, and how-tos. And today we're not going to do a gadget. Today I'm going to talk about onions. For those of you who watch my cooking episodes, I want to lessen the time of the videos that I'm taping, just because we have sighted fans as well. And sometimes sighted people, because they know how to do these things, they don't mean bad. You know, they're just impatient. The world in general is impatient. Even some blind people are impatient. So don't get upset with them. I do want to lessen the time of the cooking videos, but I actually want to also specifically give you instructions for visually impaired and blind people on how to do certain things with onions. So today we're dealing with onions. On a future episode, we'll deal with another vegetable or something else. This is what we're doing today. We're doing onions. All I have in front of me is 2 onions, a couple of bowls, and a knife. So, even though I've showed you this in one of my cooking episodes, since this is geared to visually impaired and blind people, and this will be a reference video for you guys. So you would go into my channel, Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner, or Victor's channel, where he houses all my episodes, cooking, the tips, tricks, and how-to series, and the Learning Together series. So you would go into the either channel and you would find the tips, tricks, and how-to series, and you would find the one titled Slicing and Dicing Onions, for example. I think that's what I'm going to call it, Slicing and Dicing Onions. And that would be your reference video to remember. So I have an onion. On one side, onions feel round for the most part. This one feels a little round with a point at the top. It's more like an oval shape. It almost feels more like a pear than it does a round circle. But for the most part, in general, onions are round. Some are a little bit oval, and that's nature. No two humans are the same. Sometimes, you know, no two vegetables are the same, even if they're off the same plant. So the onion always has on two sides, so it feels perfectly round, but on two sides it's prickly, on one side prickly, on the other side. That has to do with stems, that has to do with roots. Don't worry about it. Put the onion down with the roots, the root sides, the sides that you feel that are like prickly or rough, not the smooth side. The smooth side has to be on your cutting board or counter. So you've got the root ends on the left and the right of your onion. Take your knife, find the tip of the one root side and slice down right through to get that off. That you throw away. Turn it around, find the tip of the, hold the onion in place with your left hand, find the tip where the root is, pull away a little bit from the root because you don't want to be too close to the root because then you might leave some intact. So pull away and slice through. Okay, so now we've sliced through, we've cut off the roots. And then hold the onion in your hands with the part that you cut now. Now the part that you cut is at the top and the other part is at the bottom. So the two cut parts are top and bottom now. And make a slit at the side of the onion. The part that we didn't cut, the smooth part, make a slit. Just put your knife, insert your knife in, I don't know, half an inch, an inch. As long as your onion goes in. Your knife goes in. Your knife has gone in. I can't feel my knife. I can feel the slit with my finger that I made, and I can feel the knife inside. One end is coming out of one side, the other end is coming out of the other side. On top where the slit is, if I run my finger, there's no knife there because it's in the onion. Pull your knife out, and with your hands, pull off the top layer of the onion, which is the skins, and the top layer of the onion, you want to pull it off because those ones sometimes are hard. So right now I'm pulling off with my fingers. I'm feeling it and pulling off all the top layer, and it's all smooth. So now what I have a smooth onion in my hand without any skins. I have the bottom part and the top part have been cut off. They've been sliced off a little bit. And I have a slit in my onion because even though I pulled off the top layer, the slit is still there because I went in a little deeper. Okay? So if you need to slice up an onion, you're going to put it flat on its side. So now again, you have the root parts that you cut off left and right. You're going to have the slit on top of the onion. Pick up your knife. Hold the onion in place. Feel for where the slit is and insert your knife into that slit. So right now, my knife is inserted into the slit. The onion is on its side. So the slit now is facing towards the ceiling and my knife is inserted. So I'm just going to slice right through. I'm going to cut this onion in half. There you go. Now I have 2 halves of an onion. If you're making a salad, pardon me, when people say slice up an onion, this is what they mean. I have half an onion in my hand. Pardon me. I'm going to face the cut side towards me. The root part that we cut off is at the top. The other part is at the bottom. I'm going to take my knife, take a bowl, and I'm going to lay my knife flat on that cut side. And I'm going to insert the teeth of the knife a little bit and run it from top to bottom. And my half moon onions fall into my bowl. Slices of onions. So you just keep slicing through. Slicing through. If you're uncomfortable with doing that, you can use a slicer at this point as well. At a later date, I will show you guys how to use a mandolin. Unfortunately, I had one and it broke. And that's a very good option for blind people as well. But right now, pardon me, I'm showing you how to slice through an onion, and you can slice as thick or as thin. How do you determine that? So when you're, pardon me, I don't know what's wrong with me. As your onion is facing, the cut side up is facing the ceiling, and you're at the close to the top edge. So as you're holding the onion, your thumb is at the bottom of the onion, and the next finger to your thumb is at the top of the onion. And then your other fingers are at the bottom of the onion. And when you go close to your second finger, the one that's at the top, you insert your knife. If you insert the teeth a little bit and then slice through to the bottom, you get thin slices. If you insert it a lot, so here, I'll insert it a lot. So now I inserted almost half the knife in, and I'm gonna cut through. Now I've got really thick slices. So here, a thin slice, what I did before, feels, I don't even know how to describe it. Thinner than a straw, probably the width of a bamboo skewer. The thick ones that I just did, the actual slice is as thick as the width of my finger. So depending on your recipe, you would slice up accordingly. And then also when you get to you're almost finished the onion, go to as you're holding it facing up, go to the side and slice through. So now you're slicing from top to bottom, but on its side. So you can do both ways, either on its side, on the side of the onion, or on the cut side going through. So that's how you slice an onion. I hope my description was sufficient. It is a little hard, I understand. Sometimes it's good for a sighted person, especially when you're young and you're just starting out to cook, or even if you're an adult but you've never cooked and you want to learn. It is good for somebody to show you with their hands too, so you can actually feel what we're talking about, because it may, my descriptions may not be sufficient for you. Try to follow my instructions. Try to imagine what I'm saying. Pick up an onion in your hands while you're watching this video. You need to pause the video, pause it, try, play the video again, listen, try, pause. You'll get the hang of it eventually. So I'm not gonna show you guys, I already showed you how to clean an onion. I'm just cleaning a second one. And this is the last part of our video, which I'm gonna show you how to dice an onion. So I've cut off the two root ends. I'm making my slit and pulling off the top layers of this onion. By the way, give your onion a wash before you dice it or slice it, so that you can get any gunk off of it. Feel for it. If there's any parts with holes, cut them off. Yes. If there's any parts with holes, cut them off. If there's any slimy parts, cut them off. Make sure your onion feels totally smooth. Okay? So, I have a big onion in my hands, and I've cut off the root parts. I've taken off the skins. I'm going to, whoops, it just all rolled away. I'm going to set it on my cutting space, my cutting board, my counter. Right now I'm at a table, but it's the same thing. I have a placemat, and I have the onion sitting on the butt. So the part that I cut off, try to cut off the root. If you're going to dice, try to cut off the root parts as flat as possible. So the onion around is smooth and the top parts we've cut off. How do you dice an onion? Put the knife flat on top of your, not flat, sorry, with the teeth facing down. Put your knife on top of your onion and push down slowly and slice through. But slice about 3/4 of the way or about halfway, and then pull your knife out. Go back to the top, feel where you made your line. Feel with your finger where you want to make your next line. Let's say here. If you want thick dices, you're going to make these lines further apart. If you want thinner, you're going to make them close together. So I'm back at the top. I found where I want to make the next slit, so I'm going to slice through. When I get to a part that I feel is sufficient, I'm going to pull the knife out. You pull it out from the side. So now I've got an onion with 2 slits in it. So it's like slicing an onion, but you're not going all the way to the bottom. And because the onion is facing me, it's like I have 2 vertical lines. But I haven't gotten through the whole onion. So I'm going to go back to the top and make another cut. And I'm going to go halfway down or 3/4 down. Now the onion is facing me with 3 vertical cuts. Turn your onion 45 degrees, a quarter of the way turn. Now those vertical lines that you made, now they're horizontal. So do the exact same thing what we just did over these lines. So, and if you're unsure, feel, yes, my lines are horizontal now. If I turn it back 45 degrees, they're vertical. Turn it 45 degrees, now they're horizontal. Go back to the top, find where you want to cut, slice halfway through, pull your knife out. Go back to the top, find again where you want to slice, pull your knife out. So let's, for example, say now I've made 2-3 slits. Now I have a grid at the top of my onion. If you could see, it's a grid. So you've made lines, vertical lines the one way, you've turned the onion, you've made vertical lines again across the other ones. So now you've made a grid. Most blind people know what a grid feels like. You have a square or a round circle with lines going vertically and horizontally. That's what we've done. Now turn your onion on its side. So now the smooth part is on the counter. Okay? Now you need to hold the onion in place because you've made all these cuts. You don't want it to fall apart. You're going to go to the side of the onion, the part that's smooth. Find where you want to cut depending on how big you want your slices. Make sure your fingers are far away from the blade, but still holding the onion in place, and slice through. And what happens? You get little pieces of onions. Then go back to the top. Again, find where you want to cut and, whoops, sorry. See, the onion moved out of place. I'm going to do it again. Go back to the top and slice through. So now you're slicing through and all the onions are coming out into little parts. When you get more advanced, I take a bowl. Because I'm advanced at this, I hold the onion with the cuts facing up, my grid facing up, and I lay my knife flat on the side. I find the side and I put the teeth and I just slice through. I don't have to put it down to do this, but I'm advanced at this. If you're not advanced, you're going to put it on its side and slice it. When you finish, when you get to the part, so I'm just cutting through while I'm talking to you, but you didn't go all the way through the onion, right? So when you get to the part that there's no more grid, okay? So I'm at that part, let's say. You're going to pick up the little pieces that are out and you're just going to manually cut them. So you're going to grab a chunk of onion. Let's say I'm at the bottom now and there's no more grid. You can redo the grid if you want, if you feel comfortable. Or you can just grab a chunk of onion and start slicing it, feeling with your hands into little tiny pieces or thick pieces, whatever it is you want. And that's how you dice an onion. It is a little bit, I'm not going to say it's easy, not for a blind person or a visually impaired person. What it is it's practice and getting used to it. Once you get used to it, of course, there are dicers out there. And they, at some point, I will show you that as well. I just, my dicer's on the fritz. I need to get a new one. That's why I'm not showing you. So that's how you slice, dice, and clean onions. I hope this helps. And a short episode today, but you know, we need to do this, right? We need to figure things out and this is one of those times. This is, do I need to tell you anything else about onions? No. You know, if a recipe says cut your onion in 4, well, obviously you cut off the roots, put it down, cut it in half, and then cut those halves in half. So there isn't really much more that I can show you with onions. I think the only other thing is I can tell you is when I use my food processor, I cut my onions into about 4 pieces. I put them in the food processor and chop them that way too. So you can do it by hand or you can use a food processor. With the food processor, be careful, because if you pulse too much, it may become the consistency of thick pudding or even a liquid. So depending on your food, if it's a sauce and you don't mind putting the onion in as a liquid or, you know, whatever, then by all means go ahead. Now, just before I let you guys go, I want to tell you that while we were talking, I was chopping. I was slicing through and getting my... So I felt in my bowl, what I do is I put my fingers in my bowl and I feel, because maybe one didn't cut properly, I feel for really big pieces. So for example, here's a piece that I think is too big for my diced onion recipe. So I just pick it up with my hands and, oops, slice through it and make it a little smaller. And that's all there is to it. Don't forget to wash your onions. Sometimes onions make you cry, so have a box of Kleenex next to you. Wash your hands after you deal with onions because it does leave a smell on your hands. Onions are very healthy for you. They're delicious. Enjoy. And that's it for today. If you have any questions, as always, Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner at gmail.com or whose blind life is it anyway at gmail.com. Thanks guys for watching. See you next time.
Catch Zoe's tips, tricks, and how-tos every Wednesday afternoons on Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner and Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway? The Blind Perspective Network.